The low hum of electricity filled the air, a sound both alien and familiar. I stood in the center of the room, bathed in the cold, white glow of wireless lamps. Around me, machines hummed with life, their arcs of lightning dancing across polished metal coils. This was no ordinary laboratory. This was the future. My name is Nikola Tesla. History remembers Edison as the man who lit the world. But in another timeline, it was my work that defined the modern age. I gave humanity more than light. I gave them freedom from wires, a world where energy was limitless and technology knew no bounds. But progress is not without its price. The room was vast, filled with intricate machinery and the constant, faint vibration of power flowing through the walls. Towers of metal and glass surrounded me, their surfaces etched with runes of functionality, symbols only I could understand. Wires dangled and sparked in places, but their chaos was intentional, part of the brilliance that made Wardenclyffe what it was. I glanced at the window, the city skyline glowing against the night. Towers stretched toward the heavens, their peaks crackling with energy drawn from the earth itself. The Wardenclyffe Tower, the heart of it all, loomed in the distance, its beacon of electricity pulsing with steady rhythm. This was my dream, realized. And yet I couldn't shake the unease that gnawed at the edges of my mind. Progress brought light, but it also cast shadows. My work had lifted humanity into a new era, but I was no longer certain if it was an era I wanted to see. Standing amidst the humming machines, the weight of my choices pressed down on me. I reached out to steady myself against a nearby console, its smooth surface thrumming with energy. This was the world I had built, a world where my name had replaced Edison's as the beacon of innovation. Yet, as I watched the flickering glow of the city below, I couldn't escape the thought, was this the right path? I turned to my desk, where a notebook lay open, its pages filled with sketches and equations. Among them, a single phrase stood out, written in my own hurried hand. Unlimited power, unlimited responsibility. The fire crackled in the hearth across the room, its warmth barely noticeable against the cold hum of technology. For years I had dreamed of this future, fought against ridicule and sabotage to bring it to life. Now that it was here, I wondered if I had been too blind to the consequences. Every light in the city below was a testament to my genius, but also a reminder of the dangers of unchecked ambition. It began with the Wardenclyffe Tower. While Edison fought to expand his network of wires, I dreamed of a world without them. Energy, transmitted wirelessly, available to all. The investors laughed at first. Electricity without wires? They scoffed. What nonsense! But the laughter stopped when the first transmission worked. A single pulse of power lit a town miles away, every lamp glowing as if touched by the hand of God. The skeptics became believers overnight. Factories shut down their smoke-belching generators. Cities dismantled their tangle of wires. The age of Tesla had begun. I expanded the technology, creating machines that drew energy directly from the earth. Homes, factories, even automobiles became self-sustaining, powered by the invisible currents of the planet. The world transformed cleaner, faster, freer. Edison's networks of wires became relics, monuments to a lesser past. My name became synonymous with progress, my face on the covers of magazines and newspapers. At first, it was perfect. Cities that had been shrouded in smog now gleamed under clear skies. Factories worked around the clock without the choking haze of coal. Rural towns, long forgotten by industrialists, glowed as brightly as metropolises. The power of the earth was free, limitless, and for everyone. Humanity had entered a new golden age. Or so I thought. The first signs of resistance came quietly. Rumors whispered in back alleys, murmurs at investors' meetings. The industrial titans who had thrived on scarcity, oil barons, coal magnates, and railroad tycoons, saw my work as a threat. Their fortunes crumbled as my technology spread, and their desperation grew with every tower I built. They tried to discredit me first. Newspapers ran stories accusing me of madness, painting me as a reckless inventor obsessed with impossible ideas. Edison's allies joined the chorus, claiming my wireless energy would interfere with communication signals, that it was unsafe and would endanger lives. Despite the baselessness of these claims, they sowed seeds of doubt in the public mind. When the media assault failed, the attacks turned physical. Factories mysteriously caught fire, sabotage that left smoldering ruins in place of progress. I received letters, anonymous warnings demanding I abandon my work. Some were polite, others veiled in threats, but the message was clear: stop, or face the consequences. I refused. My vision of a better world outweighed their fear of losing control. More towers rose, spreading across continents, defying the growing resistance. Each new structure drew energy directly from the earth, making fossil fuels increasingly obsolete. As oil rigs were dismantled and coal mines abandoned, the backlash intensified. Industrialists who once held the reins of progress grew desperate. They funded mobs to storm my facilities, their actions cloaked in the guise of concerned citizens. Protesters claimed my towers drained the life from the land, turning fertile soil into barren waste. Others spoke of strange illnesses, their vague symptoms blamed on invisible energy. None of it was true, but the lies spread faster than the truth. The Wardenclyffe Tower, the pinnacle of my work, became a target. I fortified it, installing defenses that utilized the very technology they feared. Pulses of electromagnetic force could repel intruders without causing harm, a display of the power that could be used to protect, not destroy. Yet, even as I defended my work, I saw the world changing. What had begun as a dream to empower humanity was becoming a battle for its soul. The question lingered in my mind: was this progress, or a new kind of tyranny? The industrial titans, the oil barons, the coal magnates, the men who had built their fortunes on scarcity, saw my work as a threat. They called me a heretic, a danger to progress. They whispered of sabotage and plotted my downfall. They understood something I hadn't foreseen: power, true power, was not about energy. It was about control. The first attacks were subtle. Factories mysteriously caught fire. Wardenclyffe was accused of stealing energy from neighboring towns. But as my inventions spread, the opposition grew desperate. Mobs, paid and organized, stormed my facilities. Governments, influenced by shadowy industrialists, demanded I hand over my patents for safety. I refused. Soon, the sabotage escalated. A facility in Chicago exploded, its wireless power generator reduced to molten slag. I received threats, letters stained with soot and sealed with wax, warning me to abandon my work. My colleagues began to vanish, their homes left eerily untouched but abandoned overnight. I realized then that this was no ordinary resistance. It was war. Wardenclyffe became a fortress. Guards patrolled its perimeter, armed with weapons I had designed, non-lethal devices capable of stunning intruders with bursts of electromagnetic force. But even as I fortified my defenses, I knew I was losing. The towers that had once brought light to the world were being dismantled one by one, their pieces carted away in the dead of night. I began to fight back in my own way. My designs grew more complex, more intricate. Hidden failsafes ensured that my towers would self-destruct if tampered with. My inventions became a double-edged sword, symbols of hope for some, and instruments of fear for others. The attacks weren't limited to physical destruction. Legal battles erupted, spearheaded by lawyers funded by the titans of industry. They argued that my technology violated patents, that my wireless energy harmed wildlife, that it disrupted global trade. Courts across the nation became battlegrounds, and though I won many cases, the strain began to show. My funds dwindled, my supporters grew fewer, and my reputation, once untouchable, was now under constant assault. One evening, as I worked alone in my laboratory, a letter arrived. It bore no name, no return address. Inside was a single sentence: "You cannot control what you have unleashed." The words lingered in my mind as I gazed at the towering coils of Wardenclyffe, their arcs of lightning illuminating the night sky. For the first time, I wondered if they were right. The resistance intensified. Protesters gathered outside my facilities, their chants echoing through the night. They carried torches, an ironic symbol in a world where fire had been rendered obsolete by my work. Their banners bore slogans accusing me of playing God, of endangering humanity. Some nights, the crowds grew violent, throwing stones and bottles, testing the resolve of my guards. I started to question the morality of my defenses. A non-lethal weapon can still cause pain, and pain breeds resentment. Each night, as I stared at the reports of injuries and confrontations, I felt the weight of my decisions pressing harder on my shoulders. Then came the ultimatum. A coalition of industrialists, backed by a powerful senator, issued a public statement demanding the dismantling of all Tesla towers. They claimed the technology destabilized the economy, threatening jobs and national security. They framed their argument as one of patriotism, calling on citizens to resist the tyranny of free energy. It was a masterstroke. Across the nation, public opinion shifted. People who had once celebrated the light now feared the darkness that might come with it. Towns refused to host new towers. Some even tore down the ones already built. I watched helplessly as the dream I had nurtured began to unravel. Wardenclyffe stood as the last bastion. Its coils still pulsed with power, sending energy across the globe. But I knew it wouldn't be long before they came for it, too. One night, I stood at the edge of the tower's platform, looking out over the horizon. The city below was dark, save for the faint glow of streetlights powered by my technology. In the distance, the fires of protest lit the night. I had given the world light, but it seemed all they wanted was shadow. For the first time in my life, I considered surrender. Would it be better to let them win, to let the towers fall, and allow humanity to decide its own fate? Or was it my responsibility to fight until the end, no matter the cost? As I turned to descend the platform, the air shimmered with a familiar hum. Another letter had arrived, delivered by one of my automated messengers. It bore the same seal as before, unmarked but unmistakable. I unfolded it with trembling hands. This time, the message was longer. You sought to free humanity from its chains, but freedom without understanding leads only to chaos. The choice is yours, Nikola. Save the world, or save yourself. The weight of those words stayed with me as I returned to my lab. My machines hummed softly, oblivious to the turmoil outside. They were perfect creations, unburdened by fear or doubt. I envied them. In that moment, I made my decision. Wardenclyffe hummed with life, its towering coils illuminated against the black sky. The protests had grown louder, now a steady roar that echoed across the barren landscape surrounding the tower. My guards held their ground, but I could feel the tension mounting. This wasn't just resistance, it was a reckoning. Inside, the lab was a symphony of controlled chaos. Machines whirred, sparks danced, and my final plan unfolded on a massive console before me. I had spent months preparing for this moment, knowing it would come. If humanity refused to embrace progress, then perhaps progress was not yet meant for humanity. The first step was to sever the network. One by one, I isolated each Tesla tower, cutting off their connections to Wardenclyffe. The global web of energy I had built, once seamless and infinite, began to unravel. Lights across the world flickered and dimmed as the towers powered down. Cities plunged into darkness. Factories halted. Cars stopped mid-journey. The world I had built was grinding to a halt. I hesitated. My hand hovered over the final control, the one that would deactivate Wardenclyffe itself. If I flipped the switch, it would be the end of everything I had worked for. Decades of innovation, sacrifice, and vision reduced to nothing more than a memory. Are you sure? The voice startled me. It belonged to one of my oldest allies, a scientist who had stood by me through the darkest days of sabotage and betrayal. He looked weary, his face lined with the burden of shared guilt. There's no coming back from this, Nikola. I met his gaze, searching for an answer I wasn't sure I had. What choice do we have? I said, my voice barely above a whisper. They've turned it into something monstrous. This wasn't what I envisioned. But isn't that the point of vision? He asked. To see past the flaws, to believe that things can change? I turned back to the console. The weight of his words pressed against the weight of my actions. Could I trust humanity to rise above its baser instincts? Could I risk leaving my creation in their hands? The protests outside reached a fever pitch. A loud crash reverberated through the lab as one of the outer gates fell. The guards wouldn't hold for long. My time was running out. I made my decision.